What's going on there, guys? We're back with another one, and today we got to talk about this Austin Rivers debate: NBA to NFL, NFL to NBA. Who could do it? Whose players are more equipped to handle the transition to the other professional sport? And so we've seen it get very heated between James Jones and Austin Rivers over the last few days. And Austin Rivers has another video where he attacks James Jones' earnings compared to his, and how long his career was, and he talks about his high school mixtapes and how he was #1 and all that. So we're gonna get into that. He posted this video yesterday and has deleted it since, but we're gonna check it out, and also we're gonna listen to Ryan Clark and what he had to say about it. Now I think Ryan Clark had a very intelligent argument. You know, they both work for ESPN, and so I would love to see them. I don't think they would have the same segment if Austin was to come on First Take or something like that. But I would love to see them interact and talk about this face to face, because I think it'll be good to see an NFL player of Ryan Clark's ilk and, see Austin Rivers talk about it. Now, I know Perk took up for him and said they could, but I think football, the mentality that it takes to play that game, I tell you what, man, when I was out there, even as a kid, playing in the middle school level, it was a different type of thing. You see little 5'4", 5'5" guys out there hitting guys that's like 220, 230 pounds at that time. So imagine, a guy like Ryan Clark has to make an open field tackle. If he was playing, when Derrick Henry was playing, he would have to make that open field tackle on Derrick Henry. You know what I'm saying? So, like, I'm just taking the size of athletes and being like, the little guys in that sport, they got it, man. They got it. Can somebody like Nate Robinson or somebody like that, could they have played in the NFL? Absolutely. Um, if they would have stuck with that sport, they would have had the opportunity. If Zion, especially with him being from South Carolina, if he was groomed as a football player, yes. But you can't miss steps and really just focus on basketball, because you're training your body a different way. You have a different mentality. Um, you can't then just turn that over into going into the NFL. And like Ryan Clark is going to say in here, the skill development in the NBA, the way you develop the skill, the way you train your body to have lean muscle, to that point, that you're able to do certain things. You retain the flexibility while getting stronger physically. You're just training for a different game. But we're gonna check out what Austin had to say, and then we're gonna check out Ryan Clark. Let's peep.
James Jones, I saw your comments. I'm going to make this video. This is my last response with you, man. And then quite frankly, I'm done with this. I just don't have time for this shenanigans with you, man. I don't even know who you are, so this is kind of silly. We're only here in the first place because you got offended that I said there are NBA players, a handful of NBA players that could make the transfer over to the NFL. At the tight end wide receiver spot, I still stand by that. We have 6'10", 6'11", 6'9", supersonic athletes that have 40-inch verticals and can catch. It's not crazy for me to believe that. I think they can make the transfer over to the NFL at that position, especially when we're talking about the likes of like a LeBron James, a Zion Williams, a prime D Rose or Westbrook, or a Ja Morant, an Aaron Gordon, Suggs, Lou Dort, whatever the case. I think we have a handful of guys I do believe can make that transfer over. That's why some of the best tight ends in your sport are guys who played college basketball once upon a time and weren't going too far in that field, so they decided to make the switch to football and ended up becoming legends. Tony Gonzalez, Antonio Gates, Jimmy Graham, just to name a few. So for you to be offended by that, that's on you. The truth hurts. And then to take it a step further and to try to come at me personally and talk about, well, you could never play in the NFL. I never said I could. And then for you to try to come at my career, which has nothing to do with my comments, is kind of silly. And it's even more silly coming from you, considering you were a role player as well in your career, and nothing supersonic about your NFL career stands out, for real, for real. So let's just calm down. If we want to talk about numbers, there's a glaring difference between you and me in one regard, and we both know what that is, but I'm not a tacky guy, so I don't really want to talk finance, especially with a guy that I out earned. I think your whole career earnings was like 1 year of mine. So like, it's just silly for us to even debate or talk. Let's just keep it P and keep pushing. Your comments on trying to make fun of me for my NBA career because I was a role player, like, brother, that's pretty dope, man. I played 11 years in the league. I was privileged to make really, really good money and play for all these dope cities and teams while living out my dreams. I didn't know that was something to be made fun of while also being a lottery pick. which leads me to my next, your other comment on why I was a lottery pick. Why would a team draft me lottery, bro? Just because my dad coaches a completely different other team. It makes zero sense. But, you know, you're an idiot, and I can't blame you for thinking what you think. I was a lottery pick because 2 years prior I was the #1 player in America. That's why you see like the Naismith Trophy and a bunch of other trophies hanging around here. The year after that, I led Duke University in scoring as a freshman and was ACC Freshman Player of the Year, and also ACC All-First Team. And then I also led FIBA 18 and 19s to a gold medal. And we had led that team in scoring, by the way, and we had players like Kyrie Irving and other supersonic talents on that team. So, yeah, that might have something to do with why I was drafted in the lottery, bro. If there was any nepotism in sports, you'd see the greatest players of all times, kids in the NBA, but you don't. You'd see team presidents, team owners, team GMs, kids in the NBA, but you don't. Because it's incredibly hard to make the NBA. So trying to like throw out some like clickbait BS like such as yourself, I don't understand where you're getting off, but I'm not going to respond with stats about you. I don't know anything about you. I don't know you from Timbuktu. I only know James Jones, like the real James Jones, like everyone else knows. It's got to be hard not even dominating your own name. I hate that we're here, but sometimes you have to pick a booger. So here I am with you. Bro, just keep doing your protein shakes. You got your little show. You're doing your stuff. Keep doing your little hot takes. I'm done with you. I don't have time for this, quite frankly. Man, just keep it pushing, bro. You have a good one, man.
Nobody comes to play football who's never played football before that's a hooper. They've all played at some point in their life, because building up who we have to be for football, that's a callus that you have to build, right? Like it started in Oklahoma drills when I was 6 years old and we had no business doing it. And I was the one person that ran to the front of the line because I loved running people over. And I was like, if you get me when I'm on defense in this drill, I'm watching the line. And when you get back to the front, I'm skipping everybody. If I'm not lined up where you are, that's a mentality, bro, that you're born with that, and then you build on it each and every year. They ain't that. Like part of like their mentality is that flopping is a good thing. I can't walk down the street and have somebody bump me and I flop. I'm not finna act like you hurt me. If you bump me, I'm finna try to walk back around and swing the bench so I can bump you again. Like that's part of the mentality. And are there some people there who are probably like skilled enough? Yeah. Yes, they are. But you mean to tell me like you gotta pick like a Russell. You gotta pick a healthy Derrick Rose. Because if you give me anybody, maybe Anthony Edwards, you give me anybody 6'6" or taller and slim, I'm gonna split him in half so many times.
He can't get low enough.
So many times, he's gonna choose to do something else with his life. But on the basketball side of it, yeah, most of us can't just go do that because most of us aren't tall enough. And it's such a game of skill, but like, I didn't find it disrespectful by Austin. Like he's talking about like the athletes that are there, you know, and I get it, but he also has to think about the culture of the humans. Period, point blank. The reason Draymond, right, is thought of as such of a goon in basketball is because he'll fight and he'll push and he'll grab and he won't do all the flopping. Like he has like Draymond Green would be one of those guys where you're like, okay, he has a football mentality. Yeah. Let me tell you what happened to Draymond Green when he went out and tried to play football at Michigan State. He got his ASS choked out and he realized they are all like me. All of these mother effers out here is crazy. And Michigan State wasn't even that good.
Yeah.
Right? And so my point is this. I get it. Athletically, some of y'all can do some of the things it would take to play certain positions. Emotionally and mentally, I would break you purposely. The day they sent you out there, the first thing I would do, if you play receiver and I see you motion down in this Z crack, I don't care if Freddie T got the ball, I'm gonna turn like this, right? I'm gonna look at you, and I'm gonna say to myself, I see, Austin, in your little light-skinned eyes, this is not what you want.
None of that
right?
smoke.
And when I do it the first time, I'm gonna be like, well, okay, first time he was all right. Let's see you do the second time, and the third time, and the fourth time, and the fifth time. And so I think it's a great discussion, and I don't know what football players I'll pick that could go play basketball, but the bottom line is I believe we are more athletic humans because I think we can do more. And I believe the basketball part of it is a skill thing developed over time, as it is like the mentality of what we do.
So they bring up a very good point, Ryan Clark, that is, as far as like Draymond attempting to play football at Michigan State. And, they look at him as this big, bad, tough guy on the NFL field or in the NFL locker room or even college football locker room. They look at Draymond as just another dude on the team. And he ain't really like that for real, for real. As far as being tough and intimidating, not to an NFL player, you know what I'm saying? So that's what Ryan Clark is saying. The guy y'all think is that ain't that in our sport. And so the mentality is different, the flopping and all that stuff, even as much as they've gone out their way to protect like receivers and um running backs and well not even running backs as much, but I'm just speaking from like the targeting, penalties and all that type of stuff. On the quarterback roughing the passer and all that, even with all of that, it's exponentially more physical than the NBA, so for Austin Rivers, to insinuate that the players could just make the transition 30, that just seems like a lot of the league can make that transition. And Austin Rivers looking at it from like a combine standpoint. And he was diminishing the game. Like I disagree with Ryan Clark on that. He was diminishing because he said, just get the ball and run, just run up the field. Like that is a very rudimentary understanding of the game of football. You got to know where to run, where your blocks is coming from. Um, you got to catch it. Like he's talking about like a short pass or like a running back. If you receive like a pass in the backfield, you got to have the presence of mind to know which way to run. But you got to also turn and take that little split second to catch the ball. And ground has been covered, while you've been doing that. So, like, it's a very nerve wracking position to be in. That's why you see people drop little simple passes and stuff like that because they're already looking upfield. And, in comparing it in basketball, the best thing you can compare that to is like if somebody get it out to you on the break and you see the defender already coming your way and you take your eyes off the ball for a split second and slip out your hand because you already looking up the court or looking to make your counter move so they can't cut you off. And so when I look at that, I'm like, yeah, man, it's an interesting debate. There has been people that could do it, but again, I don't think when we're speaking about the professional ranks of a sport, I don't think just that transition is so easy that you just can leave. Because once you get to the professionals, you've been working so hard to beat out everybody in the world to get to this point, so you've put in so much work. Like it's not even just like playing collegiately. Like that's a special athlete for people like Charlie Ward and what do you say, Jimmy Graham that played with the New Orleans Saints back in the day. Those were special players to be able to play like how Jimmy played for Miami and basketball and football. You have people that can do that. Julius Peppers, um, that's one that probably could have made an NBA roster, but um, when you look at it though, like there's a reason we have never seen nobody try to do that. I mean, I know their seasons are going on at the same time, but first of all, your contract wouldn't allow it. It's much easier to convince a team that they can play in the MLB and NFL at the same time. Even though they wouldn't even want that either, to be honest with you. But sports where you're gonna be hitting the ground, getting fouled, or getting tackled, you can't play both. But you do choose one over the other based on the physicality, is what I'm saying, man. And I think somebody like Austin Rivers, again, it's his perspective and the way he comes off as a spoiled, entitled brat, to a lot of people that went to Duke. And yeah, he could play, pretty good for a high school player. And yes, Doc Rivers, even though he said it don't make sense, it did influence him going number one in the draft. People I know people that will come at you over Austin Rivers mixtape, just because they remember how it made them feel when they watched it. But like, you got to watch people play in games, you know. And when I saw him and Bradley Beal in high school, I thought Bradley Beal at that time had more of a skill set that translated to the NBA. You know, not taking nothing from Austin and his phenomenal accomplishments in his life. You know, he had to be good enough for him to get to the league. You know, it ain't like like his brother that played in Indiana, I believe it was. He didn't go to the NBA, so you know, it definitely is. You know, he definitely has some skills. You know, to get to that level. Um, but to think that his dad's name, we talking about like back in 2009, 2010, 2011, around that time, it didn't have nothing to do with his name blowing up. Yes, it did. You know, it absolutely did. It absolutely did. But not taking nothing away from him. I mean, his dad. You know, if you got a job for your son, you give your son a job. Like, I'm not even hating on that. I'm just saying, as far as this dude, you know, speaking like he speaks, and you know, the NFL players and the makeup of who they are, they're gonna feel some type of disrespected when you say that you could just come and play their game, man. So that's what you gotta expect. You say that they're more dogs. So when they feel disrespected, they lash out. Period. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Till next time. Peace.
Skip tweeted something, and although I disagree with the tweet, and hopefully Skip would take it down.
I'm not going to take it down.
Skip, 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 skip.